When burglars break into your house during the day when you are away, they're after your stuff. When burglars break into your house at night when you're there, they're more than likely after you. Let's talk about this. Welcome to the Armed Citizen channel, where you and I will discuss the finer and mostly undiscussed points of being an armed citizen. If you find my content valuable to you, please like, share, and subscribe, and maybe even drop a few coins in my tip jar to feed my ammo habit. Let's get on with it. You are your own cavalry. If you don't know what cavalry is, that's the guys on horseback or in tanks that ride over the hill when things look bleakest for the good guys in a battle, and they help turn the battle and save the day. Well, you are your own cavalry. No one's coming to rescue you, not in time at least. So let's talk about burglars. Burglars are generally non-confrontational. They don't want to deal with you and all the associated paperwork and things like that. So they will generally try to break into your house during the day when no one is around because everyone's at work and steal your stuff. Now that's pretty bad. If they break into your house at night when you're asleep, they are more than likely after you. And if you're woken up in the middle of the night, and if you are woken up in the middle of the night because someone broke in or is breaking in, you have two choices to surmise from those actions. One, they're after your stuff and they don't mind if you're there, or two, they're after you, as specifically in females, to have some party time. And I'll relate a story on that in a minute, but if you are armed, whether you're armed or not, you cannot make the assumption that someone breaking into your house in the middle of the night is just after your things. They know you're there. They might come and find you. So you must always act as if they're there to have their way with you. So that's why you should always have arms ready to go and close at hand at night when everyone is asleep. And I'm going to tell you a story now. This actually took place on March 16th, 1975 in the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Now, at the time, on that date, there was pretty much a total weapons ban for the District of Columbia. The only people that could be expected to have weapons at all were police officers or armed federal agents. So it was pretty much a gun-free zone. So very early, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, on this day, there was a boarding house, and it had three ladies, Carolyn, Joan, and Miriam, living there. Miriam had her 4-year-old daughter at the time. Miriam and her daughter lived on the second floor, and Caroline and Joan lived on the third floor. So two dirtbags broke into the house, and rummaging around, they found Miriam. And they proceeded to party with Miriam. I mean, struggle snuggle, I mean, around the world, brutal. Brutal is a vast understatement to what they did to her. If you don't know what around the world means in an adult context, I got a link to the definition down in the notes below. So Carolyn and Joan rightfully called 911, the police, and mistakes were made as to the priority of this. So two police cars were dispatched. One drove slowly in the alleyway behind the house and departed, and the other one stopped or drove by and then stopped, and the officer got out and knocked on the door. And of course, the criminals are not going to answer the door. So the cops drove off. And a little while later, Caroline and Joan called the cops again. And again, mistakes were made between dispatch and the officers, and no one is even dispatched at the time. It was considered a low priority. So, nothing was going on. So after a while, our dirtbags took a break with Miriam, and it got quiet downstairs. And Caroline and Joan, thinking that silence was a good thing, thought the dirtbags had left. So they kind of quietly called down to Miriam, and that's when they found out the hard way that the dirtbags were still there. So the dirtbags went up to the third floor where Caroline and Joan stayed, pulled them downstairs, and proceeded to brutalize them around the world and such. And they even made the ladies brutalize each other. So this was, a terrible situation for the ladies. And after about 12 or 14 hours, sometime in the evening of that day, the dirtbags, they got tired of it and they wandered off. So these ladies sued the police because they called for the police to protect them and they didn't. And it's been case law since 1856. That's over 120 years ago, 170 years ago now, the SCOTUS case was called South versus Maryland. And the ruling was that police have no obligation to come to the aid of any individual citizen. Now, if they're a specific protectee, like they're in witness protection or whatever, then that's a little different. But normal citizens, you and I, we're SOL. So the DC Court of Appeals put an end to this, and they gave the following words. The money quote goes, courts have without exception concluded that when a municipality or other governmental entity undertakes to furnish police services, it assumes a duty only to the public at large and not to individual members of the community. So let's give a alternative situation to this. Let's say Caroline or Joan was armed. They were able to have some kind of firearm in their possession. So instead of just hiding upstairs in horror listening to the screams, one of them would be on the phone calling 911, and the other one would shout down the stairs, "Hey, dirtbags, I got a gun in my hand and the cop's on the phone. You had best leave now." To which case, criminals who are, again, non-confrontational, generally, would decide that discretion is the better part of valor and depart the house. And if they thought that the ladies were bluffing and went up the stairs after them, and the ladies who had the firearm had the necessary mental toughness to unload it into the dirt bags, well, she would help the dirt bags take the ambient temperature challenge. And I know this happens because this happens fairly regularly. Someone breaks into a house and someone returns fire, and the bad guys either lay down and bleed or they depart. Sometimes they bleed when they depart too, depending upon the aim of the person. So just remember, you are your own cavalry. You have to ride to your own rescue. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful day. Thank you for watching the entire video. If what I discussed here was valuable to you, I ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and maybe drop a few coins in my tip jar to keep me in ammo. Thank you.